the area of the Church of St. Lawrence and the Baptistery of St. John. The area of the Church of St. Lawrence and Baptistery of St. John, dating back to the second half of the 9th century, is one of the oldest remaining complexes in the Canavese area and one of the main examples of pre-Romanesque architecture in Piedmont, before moving into the interiors with frescoes and the ancient baptismal font. Let us pause to consider this complex as an active participant in history, immersed in the life of a dynamic landscape. For about 12 centuries, it has stood perched on the tall rock spur overlooking the ancient village of Settimo Vitone and along the main communication route between France and Italy. Today, the relationship between the monumental complex and the primitive landscape is still vivid, as we can tell by the outcrop of rock on which it is based. Originally, the church and baptistery were not connected, but anchored on two different levels and followed the irregular shape of the rock. We cannot forget the strong symbolic value for Christianity of the founding on high ground for places of worship. They provide shelter, defense, but also resting places. They are the final destination for all people, a symbol of undying stability. In Christianity, Christ himself is compared to rock, to stone, to a mountain. It is on the Mount of Olives that God will begin the resurrection of the dead at the end of time. Stone is the base, but also the supporting structure of the church, since the first layer of the ancient buildings used stones from the river. The complex is therefore a continuation of the original environment on which it stands from in perfect harmony. Over the centuries, the landscape around the church has constantly changed. Several centuries after the construction of the old castle in the 17th century, a new, adjacent one was built. The church and the baptistery are therefore found in a place steeped in history, which combines spirituality with temporal power. Over the centuries, the complex, together with the village below, has also been touched by catastrophic events, such as floods and landslides. The Church of the Madonna delle Grazie was erected under vow following a flood in 1666. On the other hand, the rural landscape surrounding the church has been shaped by the incessant industriousness of man. In the 18th century, the hamlets around prospered with crops and places for processing the products of the land. Mills, grape presses, hemp crushes. At this time, Count Lorenzo Rinaldo Seto owned the castle and numerous vineyards that circle the church and the baptistery. Whether for its particular spiritual appeal or for its charming landscape, the complex of the church and baptistery has always exerted a strong influence both on travelers and on the inhabitants, creating in them a deep sense of identity. Until 1661, the parish of Settimo Vitone was based in San Lorenzo, and although from that date the center of religious life moved to the church dedicated to St. Andrew at the entrance to the village, for many years the Way of the Cross procession culminated in San Lorenzo. The Way of the Cross perpetuates the link between church and territory, with the countryside, but also with the mountains, following a stretch of mule track that for centuries has been the only way of ascent to the alpine world of the Settimo area.